2:39. Okay, so I've got 2:30, so I'm assuming the recording started. Hello, world, YouTube, etc. So we'll get started. I'm Elmer Masters, the Director of Internet Development for CALI, which means I'm in charge of the website, among other things. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about our currently 16-month and counting process of moving our website from Drupal 6 to 7. There's a lot I could say. There's a lot I won't say. But you know, it's one of those things, right? So, and that's my really. I don't like that caricature either, but you know, that's all right. So, but what can you do? And if you need to, get a hold of me, there's my email address. Feel free to, send things. Also, if you Google me, I turn up, kind of everywhere. So let's just jump right in. No, I actually do have an outline. I don't have slides, but I do have an outline. I like Fargo. Does anybody use this? Fargo.io. Creates outlines in a web browser, stores them in your Dropbox account. It's really awesome. It's a Dave Weiner thing, so some people just hate that it exists just because it's Dave, but hey. So anyway, that's what I've got. So we've been working on this for 16 months, right? And we've been using an outside consultant most of the time. We have about 800 hours of consultant time in over the last 16 months, which, if you think about it, 800 hours isn't like a ton of time. If we had actually hired a full-time person, we would have been done in December. But sort of the way resources work and stuff, and everything that's going on, we've been doing with the consultant to do a lot of stuff, and I've probably got another couple hundred hours in it myself, rewriting modules and stuff like that. So we're really in a position where we needed to move from Drupal 6, which yesterday it was announced that Drupal 6 will cease to be supported 3 months after the release of Drupal 8, which is going to be, I think, sometime in August probably. So that means by the end of the year, no more support for Drupal 6. So we're getting out just in the nick of time, just so we can start playing and move to Drupal 8. But probably not, because my current thinking is I'd rather write my own content management system than move to another version of Drupal. Now,
End of talk.
End of talk. That's all there is to it. Well, so there's actually the move with our website. I mean, besides Drupal 6 ending, we needed a better development platform, right? So we needed to do things that we just couldn't do in Drupal 6 that we actually can do in Drupal 7. Drupal 7's come a long way in terms of the API and the way that they deal with nodes and users and stuff, because now everything's an entity. So now, Tom, are you sitting down? Because you'll love this. So every node in Drupal 7, I don't know if you know this or not, every node and every user in Drupal 7 has 2 unique keys. Thank you. So because every node has a node ID, and it also has an entity ID. For the sake of most stuff, they're the same, but they could be different. So, yeah, I know, right? That's awesome. And you should look worried, but I'm not even going to get into that because I'm just treating them as the same, and that works just fine.
I think you're mistaking a Paul for worry.
You could be appalled. Well, in Drupal 8, they do away with the distinction altogether, and it's just entity IDs, so it's fine. The other thing is that Drupal 7 has support for responsive design and mobile stuff baked right in, so into the theming in ways that weren't possible in Drupal 6. And that means that we'll be able to have the website actually work on tablets, most specifically iPads, which, although, I mean, iPads right now represent about 7.5% of our traffic. And that was climbing pretty steadily until about March or so, or April of this year, and it's kind of plateaued right there now. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Windows 8 has actually, it's weird. There's a lot of weird dynamics in all this right now, so it's hard to explain. But we are seeing more mobile traffic than ever before. And the Drupal 6 site was a mess mobile-wise because it wasn't. So if you looked at it on your phone, it was terrible. You could run the lessons. The lesson, if you actually were on a phone or a tablet and you actually did pick your way through the Drupal 6 website, running the lessons worked well in mobile because that's outside of Drupal. Because we're not like stupid. So some stuff is outside of Drupal. Like the lessons, running the lessons is actually outside of Drupal. So the lesson viewer is actually responsive, so it works pretty well on phones and tablets. I mean, aside from the fact that you still don't want to write an essay, answer an essay question on your mobile phone, because it's not fun no matter how responsive the site is. So Drupal 7 gives us a mobile platform that we can build on so that the site works across a whole bunch of different dimensions, and I'll give you a little peek at that. As we go on. So those were sort of the kind of, plus I think everybody now, like this site's almost 5 years old. I think we're all kind of tired of I know I am. Of course, on the other hand, I've now been looking at the new design for about a year, and I'm kind of tired of looking at it. So y'all haven't seen it yet. I've seen it a lot, and I'm ready for something new, but no, we're kind of stuck with it now. So let's, so this is, sorry, I'm going to do one thing here. Never mind. So this is this is what the new site's going to look like. It was supposed to launch last week. We missed that window because it turns out that migrating 500,000 users from Drupal 6 to Drupal 7 does indeed take over 48 hours, not 6. So that was kind of a miscalculation on their part. We had.
That was one of the most uncomfortable con calls I've ever been on in my life.
I know, but I won, didn't I? That's right.
That seems a bit more than just a decimal placement.
Yeah, well, what happened was we had there was a developer who had been working on the back end stuff for us. Because there's like with the consultants, we had a couple of people. There's like a little team of Drupal gnomes. Really? No. So we had like a designer like doing the theming stuff, but then there was a developer working on the back end migration stuff. And his estimate was 36 to 48 hours. Well, at the end of April, he announced that he had accepted a new opportunity elsewhere, and he left the company. So we got a new developer, very late in the game, who had no idea what was going on. So the first thing he did was spend a ton of time, like sort of, tearing down the other guy's stuff, because that's what we do, right? Yeah. So, because they didn't know what they were doing. And then he consistently started downgrading the estimates of how long it would take to run the user things. And I probably should have been paying a little bit more attention to what he was doing. Partially my fault by going, oh, that sounds exciting, because I was getting carried away. I wanted it to be 6 hours. And so, so during that call, he actually said, but it worked fine on my laptop.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I love that, right? Yeah, right? Oh, man. But apparently, like, I could do it, frankly, with this laptop right here, I could probably do it in 4 hours. Mm-hmm. But that's not what our server environment looks like. Because we're out in the cloud and we're running, Amazon boxes with, Amazon instances with certain things. But they have access to all of that environment, so he should have, but anyway. So that's why we missed that window, and we're hoping that the whole thing will roll out next Tuesday. We're hoping. Because if we miss that window, well, then I don't know what's going to happen. Nothing good. Mr. Bruce?
So the time and money expended, I mean, if you can break down the conversion task into chunks,
Mm-hmm.
of the time and money expended, to what chunk has the biggest effort actually gone?
It's actually split. It's probably been 60-40 to theming versus like the migration and back end stuff up until like last week, when it probably flipped the other way around. But
So it's a redesign on top of the migration.
it's a redesign on top of a migration. Yeah, exactly.
And
So.
the redesign is killing you?
And it's not, no, actually, the redesign went fine. I mean, we've been happy with that, and that has actually worked out. It's really been the migration and the way that we use users and the organic group stuff, and the way we've got them intertwined. But we need to do that because we need a way to link, because, we've got schools, and we've got students, and we need to link them together, and we need to be able to track them together. And in order to do that, without writing a whole bunch of custom code, was organic groups, and that's fine. But the migration, the migration between 6 and 7, I mean, they totally changed the models, and so there's these huge mapping functions and stuff that have to be written, and that all went well. And then after that, it is literally just a matter of watching the database go round and round. We got them a little bit out of their element, right? There aren't a lot of Drupal sites out there with 500,000 users, right? I mean, most big Drupal sites are all about anonymous content with maybe 100 authors or editors or whatever poking around at them making content. They use them as content management systems. We're actually using Drupal for something we shouldn't be using it for, which is user management. I'll be addressing that. Come see me at next year's talk when I talk about moving 500,000 users into Ldap, because that's what I'm going to do. Because I've had this. If I get them into Ldap, then then I can do whatever I want with them. And while I wasn't looking, Ldap got a lot better in the last few years, weirdly enough. Yeah, I know, right? Mr. Hayward's looking like, what? But it's true. I was looking up some Ldap stuff a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, wow, they actually fixed this. So, there you go. So, and there's actually an Ldap module for Drupal 7 that's two-way, and it'll actually take your users out of. It works with users in with organic groups, and it'll populate an Ldap tree based on your model that you have in Drupal. I'll be doing that. Me and Dan will be doing that because we need fun things to do. Because we're about done with the consultants. So, yeah. We'll be taking it all back in-house shortly anyway. So the things that change, are the look of the site, obviously. A bunch of the sort of kind of functionality, like the way stuff is arranged. No more like big buttons on the top. What we do have are these awesome pull-down menus that let us get into stuff. So this is our new sort of navigation scheme for getting into things. So we've got a big one for lessons. We also brought the Ldap books. Everybody know about Ldap? Our free case books? Yeah, that's right. Free case books for law students. Also statutory supplements, like we get some LI. We partner with LII on some stuff. We do some of our own. They were on a separate website, elangdell.cali.org. We're bringing them into the main site so that we can just have all of our stuff in one place, and we can do some interesting things with search. Also, is the plan there. That's right. Look for search inside the book. Coming soon to the Langdell pages near you. So we've got our books there. And then we've got, we had that sort of tools and resources menu stuff that we could never figure out what to do with. So Chris isn't here. I think it was Chris in your house, who's on our board, suggested Explore as a tab. And we're like, yes, that's what we need, actually. And so it's now Explore CALI. And so you get all your stuff about CALI there. So And all the menu items don't work yet because that is on the punch list of stuff that still needs to get done. So that's changed. That's changed a bit. Another thing that's changed is search. So you know, in Drupal 6 we were using Apache Solr for search. We're still doing that. But what we've done now is we've added the XML for the lessons. So the every CALI lesson, right, all the questions and the answers and feedback and all that stuff is contained in an XML file. And so what we've done is we've added that to the index. We don't display any of it to anybody because some of it might be answers. And we don't want to give those away. Or maybe we do, I don't know, it's one of those things. So we get better search parameters now so that, like for example, when they worked it out, they discovered that Mrs. Plummer turns up in the text of a couple of lessons, and so we use Plummer as a term to get those, and you know, then we get all the nifty Solr stuff, right? Did you mean plumber? Maybe it's in 2 lessons. The topics thing isn't filtering quite right yet because, well, it's, again, another item on the punch list. A lot of this stuff just has to be, like we haven't gone through all of the settings line by line yet because I'm here and not working on that. So the lessons themselves display mostly like they would. And then we've got the more like this. That's an interesting selection of more like this on this one. Huh. Who knew? I don't know what that null is supposed to be. I'll have to look at that. There's still some stray fields here and there.
Oh, it's nothing, Elmer.
I'm sure it's nothing. Yeah, it's probably something, this is the anonymous view, so it's probably something that's not supposed to be there in the anonymous view anyway, and which there isn't permissions to have. But one thing that's cool, or at least that I like, on the old website, if you hit this page, right, and it says you have to log in to run the lesson, right? Well, that meant going to the Drupal login page, and then you were lost. You had to search back to get back to the lesson, right? So now we've got the nifty little drop down. Hey, get back here. Right, don't click on things. There we go. So we have the nifty little drop down, and I can log in. I'll log in as a student. It should keep us right. It should refresh the page, right? So it refreshes right on the page. Now actually that null is probably this field displaying when it shouldn't, because that's just a login thing. And I can run the lesson, or I can bookmark the lesson, whatever it is that we want to do from this spot. So. And we'll have the context menuing isn't done yet either, but lesson runs is. So we've done, and there won't be any current, but there should be some past. Dan, this better work. Okay, there we go. So one of the things that hasn't, there's a bunch of stuff that hasn't changed, right? Same usernames and ID and passwords, so that doesn't change. So people we're not resetting accounts or anything like that. And they performed some kind of serious voodoo, by the way, in the migration process, because the salting process for the encrypting process for the passwords changed from 6 to 7, and they're doing some kind of really bizarre voodoo stuff to actually move the encrypted things from one. I don't know. I looked at. I don't understand it. The only thing I know is it works. And that's all I'm concerned about.
Because I think in the database they changed the passwords from MD5 to SHA1 or something.
Yeah, exactly. And they're using salts and stuff. Yeah. And yeah, I know it's a pain. So I say it's a pain because I was authenticating against the user database for other stuff. Now it's a lot harder to do. Not impossible, but a lot harder. Sam figured it out. Sometimes it's really good to have Sam around. So all the data, all the lesson run data, 10 million rows in a database of lesson runs going back 11 years, still there, and so that will still be available. Another thing that doesn't change is the actual URLs for the lessons. So obviously it's not going to be D7 staging, but it will be www.cali.org lesson 1226. So if you have that link in Twin, or if you have that link in a syllabus someplace or anywhere, it's not going to change. Those will stay the same. The user ID numbers stay the same. So links for like if faculty linked to their CALI bio page because it lists all the lessons that they wrote, which some of them do, that will continue to work. So all those have stayed the same. I cannot absolutely guarantee that every URL stays the same because, there's a couple hundred pages of miscellaneous things that aren't lessons and aren't other stuff that's possible that one way or another we broke it. But the lessons all work. We checked those. The users all have the same user ID, so those are all stayed the same. So that's all. That's all still there. So we still have all that. We have a new FAQ system that we're putting in. That's not totally ready yet either. See, this is like I feel like I just moved into my house and now I'm giving you like a tour. Like I've been there for 2 days and everything's not unpacked and the painters are still here. So, but it'll all be here, and we won't actually flip it over until it's ready to go because we're just not we're not going to do that. I mean the other side still works. It's kind of creaky, but it's still running. And when we flip it over, we want it to be as relatively seamless as possible. We won't do the thing like we did when we moved to Drupal, where we ran the other site in parallel for a while. That was exciting. That site's still there, by the way. Some people refuse to give up on it. You know who you are. So anyway, so we'll get all this, we'll get all this sorted out. So some of the other things that, let me log out here. We'll log in as some of the other things that are going to continue to work also as we, and I should say, when I'm talking about stuff that continues to work, well, I'll get back to that in a second. So, so for faculty members, we still have Lesson Link, right? So Lesson Link is a feature of our site that lets faculty create unique trackable links to lessons, so that they can get back and follow what the students do, so they can assign lessons and see the student work on those lessons. Okay, it's actually used by about, I think last semester we came close to having 500 faculty using it. So it gets a lot of use. We were surprised when we went back and did counts, like starting like last year, how many people were using it. Because we don't hear. It's like one of those things, we talk about it, and then it just kind of works. Well, it doesn't kind of work. It just works, and so we don't hear about it, right? Because it just works. Faculty use it. It does what they expect it to do. And they just carry on, and so the only way we know about it is when we go back and look in the database and start counting things like how many faculty have looked at it, And of those, about almost 500 faculty, I think only really about 300 of them you actually used, like had students run links from the lessons that they set up. So a bunch of them were sort of tire kickers. But the faculty that do use it tend to use it. They'll assign a half a dozen or more lessons, right? And it's actually a pretty straightforward process to do that, and it works mostly the same on this year's version of the website as previous years. So let's see, it's Law 200. I can say we're in summer of 2004. This will roll over automatically, actually, in a couple of weeks to fall of 2014. We can pick a topic. And yes, there is an issue with the way that things lay themselves out, but we'll go to copyright. I get my list of lessons. There we go. I can pick a few. I get fancy check marks. See, that's why we pay the designer, right? We pay the designer so I can have big fancy check marks instead of just the regular ones.
That is so cool.
And then we'll hit the big submit button. What's funny, we've actually gone through different iterations of the site too over the past years. As past year as sort of style changes, right? These were actually 3D buttons when they started, right? So and all the other buttons, and about I think it was in the December, January frame, we flattened everything because that's what the cool kids were doing. Yeah, so we flattened everything, and actually, I kind of like it better that way. So, so I get my lesson links. Those are 3 links that I made, and so when students, so you give the link to the students click on that, and then you can track it. There's also, we have a WordPress plugin that creates a shortcode, and if you use that on your Classcaster blog and you plug this shortcode in, it'll display the lesson page, the information about the lesson, and students will be able to run the lesson from inside your Classcaster blog. My personal favorite awesome feature. But, and then the other thing that it does is it gives you, let's see, there should be a page. Let's see. Not that one. This one. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to work. Dan, we might be missing tables.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's okay. I can fix that. So, oh no, we're not missing tables. I forgot to turn on a module. That's what happened.
So it's not me too.
It is me.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you're good. But we actually have a page that displays all the stuff when I turn that module on, and then so that you can kind of pass those out to students. And then we also show stuff going in the past for folks, and well, this account doesn't have any, so. Another fun and exciting thing that you can do it on the current site. Some people do. This is CALI Author, right, which is our authoring platform, right, because those lessons have to get written somehow. So we have an authoring program, CALI Author. It's available for free, by the way, on the website. If you log in, you can go grab it, show it to your faculty. They can write their own lessons, and they can publish them to the website. So I have my sample lesson open here. Actually, before I do that. So let's see, we'll click on the About page. I'm going to change this to sample lesson 3.1 so that we can know that it actually worked. We will save it. And then we'll click the Auto Publish button. Come back. We'll click the Publish button. And then what that does is that then sends a bunch of XML to, so now there's a title, right, which I just said, sample 3, lesson 3.1. So what it did was, actually it was fast. I'm a little scared now. Last time it took a minute. So what it does is it actually uploads the XML for the lesson and the associated files to our site, and then gives the faculty, the author of the lesson, sort of a node to work with. And they come in automatically. They're not published so that other people can't find them. We don't index them. So you have to kind of keep track of sort of where they are, but that's easy enough to do. If you do a save, so now I just published my very own lesson. So that works, which is always fun. And it has a little more simplified run link. We can actually run that. And then it runs like a regular lesson, and I can step through it and all that sort of stuff. And all the features from the viewer, right? So when you're running lessons, the scores still save automatically. The lesson reports still turn up for my lesson runs. You can still do exit and resume, so you can stop and restart lessons, just like you could in the past. We will leave this page. And then it takes me back and it tells me that I ran 3.1. I'm not sure why the name isn't turning up right, but that's another problem. So, so those things work. And let's log out. We want to take a look at the registration process. Hey, you know those auth codes? Yeah, we're still doing those. Unless if somebody comes up with a better way for us to link students to schools without giving them like a 200 school long pick list or start with 50 states and drill down or anything like that. That's, now when we move to Ldap actually, right, Ldap actually offers us some interesting possibilities because then we've got the ability to talk to other Ldap or Ldap-like structures like Active Directory and possibly do like bulk stuff in ways that we haven't been able to really do in Drupal so easily. So that might be a thing. But for right now, the auth codes are the auth codes. And that's just all there is to it. And it pretty much functions in exactly the same fashion as it did before. I'll pretend I'm a faculty member from Emory. And when I hit tab to go down to username, it tells me I'm from Emory. It asks me which group I'd like to do. And then this is all just sort of standard stuff, right? So it works. We spent a lot of time making sure that the stuff that worked on the old site, we kind of kept. And like trying to explain the authorization code to a developer who's rewriting the user modules for Drupal, and it's like it was an interesting process because they're used to sort of dealing with just kind of we just need to keep spam out, right? Sort of user level stuff, and so our requirements were a little bit more stringent, and the developer actually, Josh, our original developer, actually thought this was fascinating as a way to sort of to authenticate people to a specific group like this. He thought it was kind of cool, so that made me feel better. And then the rest of it's just the standard sort of stuff. So.
Yeah, wondering if a combination of a Soundex search against a database of law school names combined with geolocation.
That's a neat idea.
Would do it for you.
Yeah, that might help.
Would you just use unique links per school?
We could do that too. I mean, we've looked at a number of things like one-time sort of links and different. Yeah, different things, and they all had, like the problem with geolocation, one word, Concord.
Right.
You know, I mean, you end up in these like sort of weird spots, and and the same thing with like unique links. I mean, we've actually had a system for doing the like actually putting the auth code in a unique link and having it come back. The problem is, of course, getting schools to actually properly put the link on a page where the students can get it.
Yeah.
That's harder than you think it would be. Harder than you would hope it would be. God, it shouldn't be that hard. But it is. I mean, you know, for a ton of reasons.
Could you just make some short links that go to it?
Yeah, we could, but then we're in the same problem of, you know, then we still have to send it out on a card anyway, and then we might as well do this.
You have a shortener.
Yeah, we do have our own shortener.
You could put the link.
Yeah, we could put something inside the shortener and do that. I mean, we've toyed with that kind of, you know, I've looked at a bunch of that stuff, and you know, at the end of the day, the auth code was just working, you know. It's actually gotten to the point where it's become part of the mythology or something, I don't know.
The code reference wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So can we circle way back to before the beginning
Mhm.
and pick your brain on the buy versus build decision here? I mean, you decided to go with outside consultants. It sounded like you used a lot of time, actually. Would you do it differently the next time around?
Well, I mean, I would have rather hired somebody, I think, at this point. Because, you know, once we take the site back, then we've got like a whole bunch of other stuff to do anyway, and then we're gonna, you know, we'll spend time doing that. If we had hired like a Drupal person to come in and do that, then we'd have that in-house, and we could deal with it that way. I mean, we had a consultant for the first move also, right? You know, Josh Brower, who, you know, right, who's, you know, now he works for Apple now. Do you know that Apple has like 3,000 Drupal sites or something like that? Their whole HR, this is funny, right? I don't know, this might not be public knowledge, so censor it off the internet later. But Apple uses Drupal for their internal HR websites. And Josh is helping them build that. He won't get me a job though.
Ask Nick about whether you want one.
No, I know. I'm just. Although, and it's funny because like whenever I tweet about like sort of stuff like vaguely Drupal-y, problem-y stuff, Josh is like, "Hey, I got a few minutes. What do you need?" And then, but I can't afford him anymore. So yeah. I mean, we.
Especially after you paid those other things.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, you know, I mean, to me, I mean, what we got with the package that we're using right now with the consultants, and the firm's called Media Current, and they do really good work. Their latest big project was moving the Weather Channel to Drupal. So they're not like, you know, it's not like some little mom and pop kind of operation. I mean, these guys are pretty big, and the only reason they even got in the radar was because they're headquartered in Atlanta, and I knew the principals from the local Drupal user groups. So, you know, if you use Drupal, get involved in your local user group because you make good contacts. But, you know, they've got, you know, I've had, you know, a project manager and a designer and one or two developers, depending on when things are going. And the thing is, it's been good because, I mean, it's been good for me because you know, they get, you know, they're assigned tasks and they do them, and then I okay them, and we move on to the next set of stuff, and they do things without, you know, I don't need to like, you know, be doing it, you know, like continually monitoring it, and I don't have to do it myself, except for rewriting the modules for the auto publish stuff and the lessons and lesson link. I did that because I started explaining what we were doing, and I was like, you know what, I'll just do it, and it really wasn't that bad. I mean, you know, I spent you know, maybe a total of 20 or probably not even 20 or 25 hours rewriting those. There were 4 modules altogether that worked together. It really wasn't that bad, and it helped me learn more about Drupal 7, which I need to know anyway, you know, sort of going forward. let's take a look at, let's see, look at search. Let me consult my outline here. Make sure I haven't missed anything. Nah, I kind of, I always start off an outline and then, you end up someplace else. So, well, let me log back in. And and by the way, this move from 6 to 7 is also the reason why you had to create new accounts this year to register for the conference. But I can also tell you that when in previous years, when I had wired the conference system into the existing user database, it broke a number of the registration features just because of the way the views were put and because of field names and stuff. So this year, of course, that didn't happen because we were using it sort of native, right? It wasn't wired into another database. And it worked really like and Lavonne's really happy with the way that the registration process worked for her in terms of reporting and the ability, like there were no missing name tags this year. First time that's ever happened. And that freed us up to print special tags for certain people. So that didn't happen, and there were a lot of other things. So it actually looks like going forward, you're probably going to end up creating a new account every year. So there's that to look forward to. But anyway, so on the inside of stuff a little bit, let's just take a look at. Right, so this is our list of lessons by topic. If we look at a lesson, see the thing that we did that I've wanted to do for years, but I just couldn't figure out how to do in 6, like not in a reasonable fashion. Although I suppose I probably could have done it, but so let's see where are we at here. Did I pick up a bad one? No. Come up there. Oh, there we go. Authors. Oh, there it is. So this is the text. This is the lesson XML. Now you'll notice, of course, it doesn't look like XML. In order to stick it into the database, it's been sort of un-XMLized. So that's worked for this particular sort of raw word search stuff. But since we decided to do this, I figured out how to feed the actual lesson XML into the system through Drupal. So what we're going to be able to do is actually send the XML in for the lessons and have Solr treat it as XML, which means that we'll get facets and fields off of all this information. So we'll be able to show, like when I do that Mrs. Plummer search, right? Her name turns up in questions, but not in answers. So we'll actually be able to show, like right now when you do that search and you find those lessons, you don't see what the context that Mrs. Plummer turned up in. The only thing you'll know is that it was in there somewhere, right?
How are you storing your XML?
Well, right now, it's actually in 2 places, right? The lesson XML, as it's used by the lesson viewer, is in the file tree.
Okay.
This is the text-sized, or flat version that's actually stashed in the database as a field, a giant text field for Drupal. But there's a nifty module called Solr Fields, or something like that. Yeah, it's like Strawberry Fields, but cooler. So that actually allows you to it'll index files attached to nodes. So what I'm going to do is, because of the way that Drupal wants to store this, which is to squash out all the stuff, and plus it passes it to Solr, like programmatically, it passes it to Solr as a text blob. And so Solr processes it as a giant string. It doesn't look for fielded searches. If I pass it an attached XML file, Solr will go, ooh, it's XML. I know what to do with that, which is turn it into a fielded search, like automatically recognize the fields and stuff. And our XML is good enough that will hold up. And we're going to do the same thing with Ldap books, because you can feed it EPUBs. So, and index books.
Depending on how much integration. I mean, if you were to stick it in a native XML, I'm just thinking that the native XML database has Solr index built in.
Yeah. I don't know, Dan, do you want us to run exist?
Sure.
No, but see, we also don't have enough of it, right? We're talking about like less than 1,000 lessons that have the XML, and the biggest one weighs in at about like the XML part is probably just a couple hundred K. So to go with something like exist or whatever is like overkill, and I don't like overkill. I like to just have just what I need, and then that works out. So this is getting indexed now. So that's new, and that's helping us power more stuff. The other thing that we did in the process, by the way, was we did when we had originally moved into 6, we had visions of using Drupal to manage the membership also. That didn't pan out. Primarily because, again, it was a scale issue, right? We weren't big enough to use something like Civi CRM or something like that to really do. See, there you go. And or any of the other tools, they didn't really fit sort of our style and size. So we took that away, and so we actually stripped down the node types in 7 have a lot fewer fields, even lessons. We left out a bunch of stuff because the lessons are managed in a separate database anyway in terms of workflow. So there's still this other database that exists out there that has all the good data in it, and sometimes we back it up. So that's awesome. So they, yeah, I know. But so we really kind of tuned up some of what we were doing with Drupal 2, realizing that our primary function with Drupal is to serve up lessons and the tools that go with lessons and the books and the tools that go with books. And some other stuff, and then the about CALI sort of things that we do, and the blog and those kinds of things. So, so we tried to structure some of that, sort of back in or out rather, so just to kind of make things a little bit more streamlined. I mean, we still have a ton of fields in things anyway. So. So let's see, and then we've got the various different ways to get at lessons, right? So this is like that same list is in the big pop down, but it's in a cute little bullet thing, in case you want to attack it in that general direction. You can also get into them by casebook, right? So here's a list of casebooks. And you can click on these, they don't point in the right spot, that's a thing. But this will show you, actually I can make this work because it's like magic. At least it better be like magic. Wait, what was that? Let's do this. Let's copy that and paste it in here. We will take away this part, replace it with right. So what this does is, and we have this for a bunch of casebooks, right? These correlation tables. So this actually tells you, if you're reading something on pages 17 to 28 of Business Enterprise, Legal Structures, Governance and Policy, you can use this lesson this lesson is actually relevant to the content of those pages. Students love these, by the way. They use them a lot. And then we also have the CALI topic grids or subject outlines, which lay out. We've developed grids that are taxonomies for different subjects here. I know, it's awesome, isn't it? Yeah, there's an extra content in there, and there was a certain amount of regression when they moved this from development to staging that's bothering me about. So we've got, this is CALI, this is the CALI contracts outline or topic grid, and so we've got different points of contracts, and then these are the lessons that match those points of law. Again, also pretty popular with students. If you come and see the talk that Sarah and I are doing tomorrow, we're gonna show you some other ways that we're using these grids to do more interesting things than this, and it could be a glimpse of the future. I don't know, hard to say. So, let's just take a quick look here at the. Let's see. Am I in the right? No, wait. I don't want to be in Chrome. I want to be in Firefox, and I want to be in. Let's see. I think I want to develop a responsive design view. Yay! Yeah, let's do this. Let's go take a look at one of these here. So we can kick this into, we can take a look at what some of the mobile view. So this is like sort of your standard view. If you happen to be on a phone, right? So on the phone you get that, right? And that's your phone, the page, and that's sort of how it collapses. Logins under here, that'll be. I'm already logged in, so it's being kind of grumpy. But there's that, and then the main menu. Quit that. Main menu pulls out from here, and then there's that page to navigate across. If you go out to, let's see, what can we get? So a tablet size. It holds up the regular, or it holds up that menu. I'm actually going to log out because it looks a bit better without that. If you go, let's see if we get, I think it's about 800. No, not 800. Somewhere in here there's like a magic spot. There you go. So, right, so once it gets out to a certain point, then you start getting the full view again. So this lets us, get through all this stuff with, on the mobile devices. So I think it's going to help us out. I mean, like I was saying, we're getting more and more of our traffic, but the majority of the traffic that starts on mobile devices that starts at the front of the website leaves at the front of the website because people look at it now and you can't see anything and stuff, and so they go away. So we're hoping to be able to capture more of that traffic and get them to come in, with this. So, all right, anybody have any questions? Comments? Okay. And hopefully hopefully look for it next week. We'll have a short amount of downtime while we're doing it, huh? Yeah, 48 hours. No, actually, I have a little. There's a status note in an open case in the issue tracking system that notes the high water mark of users from the last migration that was completed the end of last week. We will pick up at that point, and so it should only be a few hundred users this time, and I've been assured that will not take any more than 5 days. So, no. The only reason that we need to actually stop the website, as opposed to just doing something cool, like jiggling the load balancer a little bit, is because of the lesson run table. Because people are always running lessons. I mean, think about this, right? I mean, even on a slow day like today, when there's not a lot of traffic, there'll be 1,000 lesson runs today. So there's always that kind of traffic on the site, and that table's huge, 10 million rows, and moving it takes 4 hours, something like that.
It should take less time because it's on the same.
Right, well, we'll do the
Six
same
months,
high,
six
and we'll do the high watermark stuff and all that sort of stuff. So, but we need to stop the site so that people don't run lessons while we're doing that, and when we'll flip the switch. We're keeping the other thing that we're keeping that's not changing is the Amazon. It's all in the Amazon cloud, and it's using the same. There'll be the Amazon load balancer, and there'll be 3 web nodes, and we'll be serving up static stuff off a separate server, and we have a separate server for Solar, and we have a humongous server for the MySQL database. I think that's it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. So like 3 web nodes, static cache, Solar, and the database, and then we'll add web nodes like during exam period. We need to beef it up a little bit. I usually add 2 nodes to it to handle the extra traffic during exam time because it goes from like our sort of during the school year we get about 3,000 runs a day, and that'll go 10 times that during exams. Easy. So I don't know. Are there still going to be 30,000 law students in November? Oh, sorry, that was not it. No, just kidding. Of course there'll be 30,000 law students in November. So, so there you go. That's it. Nobody's got any questions? We'll wrap up early.
We do keeping IT together, strategies, trees, iPads and clinics, or RD.
You're supposed to wear them here.
Yeah.
I'm Tom.
Yeah.
Thank you for not sitting there going the horror.
He
was tested.
Oh, the humor. Yeah.
This is insurance and requiring food,
Well, we were,
or using iPads. Click record to the publish right now.
Where's Sarah?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
When's that? Is that now? In like 2 minutes or? Yeah.
Danny better hurry up. Well, I guess it's like, I mean, we sort of, because of the complexity, you don't know what it is, because we need to have users.
You were using.
No, we weren't using it.
Head down,
Well, that also goes with change. And so we actually had to do, it was actually a double migration. We migrated all the users.
around the yard.
That took almost, then we had to migrate organic groups, that took about 2 days. But then we had to link the organic groups to the users, that took 3 days. Because.
That's more manual, isn't it?
Well, no, they wrote migrate scripts for the whole thing, it all ran through the rush.
It's less complicated than you believe.
Yeah, we're gonna hire a computer and put those out, so we can put that on, so they can put those all.
Yeah. I mean,
I remember
Media
standing-
Current, they've done really good work.
I remember standing
And I think that the real issue has been that was left. Like,
I know.
I know, we've experienced that with our company, switches over and that's your forwarding project.
It's hard, it's hard. And, around 2 minutes later, I'm still waiting for the bus, I see them come by a second time. And they gotta look at me and just get.
And I think the first one
I mean, they were trying to go to somewhere down to save my team, so why they were doing it.
Post
But
any?
apparently they,
There's no post anywhere.
right,
We get out of
fire
there.
station.
We do have, I mean, there's tech droids, right?